No one wanted the Apache hostage at the handover until the quiet rancher took a step forward. The sun was low in the sky, and the air was dry and warm. Dust rose from the road whenever someone moved, and the whole town seemed to hold its breath. It was a quiet town, the kind where everyone knew each other. But today, the silence felt heavy. Something was happening that nobody wanted to be part of. In the center of town, a small group of men had gathered. They stood in a loose circle, their hats pulled low, their eyes fixed on the same point. It was not a happy gathering. It was not a celebration. It was a moment of duty, a moment of fear, and a moment of shame. A man was standing there, too calm for the situation. He was the one everyone was watching. He was the reason the town felt so tense. He was the Apache hostage. The town had been told that he was a problem, that he had been captured as part of a deal to keep peace. He was to be handed over to someone who would take responsibility for him. That was the plan, at least. But now, as the moment approached, it became clear that no one wanted that responsibility. The military officers stood stiffly on one side. They had done their part. They had brought the man into town, and now they were supposed to leave him in someone else's care. But they did not want to. They did not want to be the ones who had to watch him. They did not want to be the ones who would be blamed if something went wrong. The town leaders were also there. They were men who spoke loudly in meetings and acted confidently when they were surrounded by supporters. But now they were quiet. Their voices did not rise. Their hands did not move. They avoided eye contact. They looked like people who had been caught in a situation they did not understand. The settlers, the people who lived in the town, were watching too. They had heard stories about the Apache people, stories that made them feel uneasy. They were afraid of the unknown. They were afraid of what might happen if they accepted the man into their community. They did not want to be responsible for him. They did not want to be remembered as the people who let a dangerous man live among them. But the hostage did not look dangerous. He stood with his shoulders straight and his eyes calm. He did not show anger. He did not show fear. He simply stood there, waiting. It was as if he understood what was happening and had already decided to accept it. He was not loud. He did not argue. He did not shout. He only looked at the people around him one by one, as if he was trying to read their minds. His calmness made the situation feel even more uncomfortable. If he had been angry or afraid, the people might have felt justified in their fear. But he was quiet. He was still. He was human. The military commander cleared his throat. His voice was firm, but it sounded forced. "We have done what we were ordered to do," he said. "Now we need someone to take responsibility." "Who will accept him?" No one answered. The commander waited, hoping someone would step forward. He looked around the circle of men, searching for a sign of courage or compassion. But all he saw were faces that looked away. Some of the men shifted their weight from one foot to the other. Some stared at the ground. Some whispered to each other, as if the answer might appear in their private conversation. But nobody spoke. The commander tried again. "This is the way it has to be done," he said. "The handover must happen. We cannot keep him here forever." Still, no one moved. A few of the settlers looked angry. They had come to town expecting peace, expecting a normal day, and instead they found themselves facing a problem that did not belong to them. They were upset that the military had brought the man here at all. They felt that the town should not be involved. They felt that the military should deal with the problem on its own. One man spoke quietly, as if he was afraid of being heard. "We didn't ask for this," he said. "Why should we take him?" Another man nodded. "He doesn't belong here," he added. He should be taken somewhere else. The commander's face tightened. He was not happy to hear these words, but he understood them. People were afraid. They were worried. They did not want to be blamed if anything happened. The hostage watched all of this without moving. He looked like a person who had seen many things and had learned that anger does not help. He stood there as if he knew that the only thing that mattered was what happened next. The town's mayor, a man with a thick mustache and a loud voice, stepped forward. He looked at the commander and then at the crowd. "I will not accept him," he said. "This town will not accept him. We have our own problems. We do not need this." His words were met with quiet approval from the crowd. People nodded. They felt relieved that someone had spoken out. They felt relieved that they did not have to be the ones to make the difficult decision. The commander's jaw tightened. He looked at the mayor, then at the other men. He knew that the town was not going to help. He knew that he could not force them, but he also knew that he could not keep the man with him. The situation was stuck. The hostage remained still. He did not speak. He did not show emotion, but there was a sense of sadness in his eyes. He had become a symbol of a conflict that he did not choose. He had become a tool in a game that he did not understand. He was a person being treated like a problem. The sun continued to move toward the horizon. The light grew softer, but the tension in the town grew heavier. The people who were watching felt a strange mixture of relief and shame. Relief because they would not have to take responsibility. Shame because they knew it was wrong to treat another person like a burden. The commander finally stepped closer to the hostage. He spoke quietly, as if trying to hide his words. "We will leave you here until someone takes you," he said. "You will stay in this town."
"You will not leave. You will be watched."
The hostage nodded once, without expression. The commander turned back to the crowd. "This is your chance," he said. "If you do not accept him, we will have to find another way." The crowd looked around at each other. They looked like people who were trying to find an answer without taking responsibility. They wanted someone else to solve the problem. They wanted someone else to be the hero. But there was no hero. The quiet town was suddenly filled with a strange silence. It was the kind of silence that makes people feel uncomfortable. It was the silence of people who knew they were doing something wrong, but did not want to admit it. A few people began to leave. They walked away slowly, as if they were leaving a room where something bad was happening. They did not want to be part of it. They did not want to be seen. They did not want to be remembered. The commander watched them go. He looked tired. He looked like a man who had spent his life following orders, and now he was faced with a problem that no order could fix. Then, from the edge of the crowd, a quiet man stepped forward. He did not look like a leader. He did not speak loudly. He did not make a show of himself. He was a rancher. A man who lived far from the town and preferred the company of his animals to the company of people. He was known for his silence. He was known for his hard work. He was known for his simple life. His name was not famous. He was not a hero. He was just a man who lived quietly and kept to himself. But today he walked forward. The crowd turned to look at him. Some people frowned. Some looked surprised. Some looked annoyed. They wondered why he was stepping into a situation that no one else wanted. The rancher stopped a few feet from the hostage. He looked at him for a moment. Then he looked at the commander. He did not speak. The commander's eyes widened. He had not expected anyone to step forward. He had not expected anyone to accept the responsibility. The rancher finally spoke. In a calm voice, "I will take him," he said. The words were simple. They were not dramatic. They did not sound like a speech, but they carried weight. The crowd fell silent. Even the wind seemed to stop. The mayor's face turned red. He stepped forward. "You cannot do that," he said. "You don't understand what you are getting into." The rancher looked at him calmly. "I understand more than you think," he replied. The crowd began to murmur. Some people looked angry. Some looked scared. They did not like the idea of a stranger taking the hostage. They did not like the idea of someone being brave or kind. The commander looked at the rancher. He looked as if he was trying to decide whether to stop him or allow him to do it. He had no choice. If the rancher was willing, then the military would have to accept it. The commander sighed. "Very well," he said. "If you are willing, then we will hand him over to you." The rancher nodded. He did not show fear. He did not show excitement. He simply stood there, ready. The hostage looked at the rancher. For the first time, there was a slight change in his expression. It was not happiness. It was not relief. It was something quieter, something like understanding. It was as if he recognized that this man was different from the others. The town watched, stunned. No one wanted the Apache hostage. No one wanted to be responsible. But one quiet rancher had stepped forward, and that small step changed everything. After the rancher stepped forward, the town felt a strange change in the air. People who had been confident in their fear now looked unsure. The silence was no longer only heavy, it was also filled with curiosity. Some people could not believe what they were seeing. Others felt a strange hope, as if something that had been wrong might finally begin to be fixed. The rancher stood still, his face calm. He was not proud. He was not showing off. He was simply doing what he believed was right. He had never wanted attention, and he still did not want it. But now the attention was there anyway, and he could not ignore it. The military commander stepped closer to the rancher. He spoke quietly, almost as if he was sharing a secret. "Do you understand what you are agreeing to?" he asked. The rancher nodded. "I understand," he replied. "I will take care of him." The commander hesitated. He was used to following orders, not making decisions. But he could see that the rancher was serious. He could see that the rancher was not afraid. The commander also knew that he had no other choice. If the town would not accept the hostage, then someone had to. The commander turned to the hostage. "You will go with him," he said. "He will take you to his home. You will stay there until this is over." The hostage looked at the rancher again. He did not speak, but his eyes moved as if he was trying to understand the rancher's face. Then he nodded once. It was a small gesture, but it was enough. It was a sign of trust, or at least a sign of acceptance. The rancher stepped closer to the hostage. He reached out his hand slowly, and the hostage took it. The crowd watched as the two men held hands for a moment. It was not a dramatic moment. It was not a moment of celebration. It was a moment of human connection. The military commander turned to the crowd. "We will leave now," he said. "We will not be part of this anymore. The responsibility is yours." The commander gave a final look at the rancher, as if he was trying to remember his face. Then he turned and walked away, followed by the other soldiers. The town was quiet as the military left. It was as if everyone was waiting to see what would happen next. The rancher led the hostage toward his ranch. The road was dusty and long. The sun was still warm, but it was lower in the sky. The rancher walked with a steady pace. The hostage walked beside him, matching his steps. They did not speak. They did not need to. The silence between them felt comfortable, not awkward. As they walked, The rancher thought about the day ahead. He had taken a risk, and he knew it. But he also knew that he had done the right thing. He had always believed that every person deserved respect, no matter who they were. He had never been the kind of man who followed the crowd. He had never been the kind of man who let fear decide his actions. The rancher had a simple life. He lived alone on his ranch, far from the town. He had a few horses, some cattle, and a small house. He was not rich, but he had enough. He worked hard, and he liked the quiet. He liked the feeling of being in control of his own life. He also had a reason for caring about the Apache people. It was not a story he told often. It was not something he liked to talk about, but it was there, inside him. Years ago, before the town had grown and before the military had become involved, he had met a group of Apache people near his ranch. They were not dangerous. They were just people traveling through the area. The rancher had been young then. He had been scared at first, like many people, but he had also been curious. He had seen how tired they looked. He had seen how careful they were with their water. He had seen how they treated each other with respect, and he had seen how they looked at the land with a deep understanding. One evening, the rancher had offered them food. He had shared what he had. The Apache people had thanked him not with loud words, but with quiet gratitude. They had stayed for a short time, and then they had left. The rancher had never forgotten them. That memory had stayed with him through the years. It was a small moment, but it had changed him. It had shown him that fear can be overcome by kindness. It had shown him that people who look different can still share the same feelings. It had shown him that respect is more powerful than hate. Now, as he walked with the hostage, those memories returned. He thought about how easy it would have been to ignore the man and let the town handle the problem. He thought about how many people would call him foolish. He thought about how his life might change because of this decision. But he also thought about the man walking beside him. He thought about how it would feel to be treated like a tool instead of a person. The rancher and the hostage reached the ranch at the edge of town. The ranch was simple but sturdy. It had a small fence, a few trees, and a barn where the animals stayed. The rancher opened the gate and led the hostage inside. The hostage looked around carefully. He watched the land, the animals, the house. He seemed to be taking everything in. The rancher noticed that the man was not nervous. He was not rushing. He was simply observing. The rancher led the hostage into the house. He showed him a room where he could rest. The room was small, but it was clean. There was a bed with a simple blanket, a chair, and a small table. The rancher did not have much, but he offered what he had. The hostage sat on the bed and looked at the rancher. He still did not speak, but the rancher could see that he was grateful. The man's eyes were calm, but there was a softness in them that showed he understood the rancher's kindness. The rancher prepared a simple meal. It was not fancy. It was just some bread, cheese, and water. He placed the food on the table and invited the hostage to eat. The man nodded and began to eat slowly. He did not rush. He did not complain. He simply ate. The rancher sat across from him. He watched the man as he ate. He wondered what the man was thinking. He wondered if the man was afraid. He wondered if the man was thinking about his family or his home. He wondered if the man was angry, but the man did not show anger. He did not show fear. He only ate quietly, as if he was used to being careful. After the meal, the rancher brought a small blanket and sat on the floor near the man. He did not want to be too formal. He did not want the man to feel like a prisoner. He wanted him to feel like a guest. The rancher spoke softly. "You can rest here," he said. "You do not have to worry. I will take care of you." The man looked at him. For a moment, the rancher thought he might not understand, but then the man nodded. He understood. He understood the meaning behind the words, even if he did not understand the language. The rancher continued, "I know this is hard, but you are not alone." The man's eyes softened. It was a small change, but it showed that the words had reached him. He was not used to being spoken to with kindness. He was not used to being treated like a person. That night, the rancher stayed in the same room. He did not sleep well. He was not used to having someone else in his home. He was worried about the future. He was worried about what the town might do. He was worried about the unknown. But he also felt a strange peace. He felt like he had made the right choice. He felt like he had done something that mattered. Outside, the wind moved through the trees. The animals in the barn were quiet. The night was calm. Inside, two men from different worlds sat in silence. They did not need words to understand each other. They only needed respect. The rancher knew that the next days would be difficult. He knew that the town would not forget what he had done. He knew that some people would try to stop him. He knew that the situation could become dangerous, but he also knew that he could not turn back. He had already taken the step. He had already made the choice, and he was ready to face whatever came next. The next morning, the rancher woke early, as he always did. The sun was just beginning to rise, painting the sky with soft colors. The air was cool, and the world felt quiet. The rancher stepped outside and took a deep breath. He could feel the weight of the day already. He knew that the town would not forget what he had done. He knew that people would be watching. He looked toward the small house and saw the Apache man still asleep inside. The rancher felt a strange mix of emotions. He felt responsibility, of course. He felt worry. But he also felt something else, something he had not expected. He felt a quiet pride. He had done something that he believed was right. He had taken a stand, even if no one else understood. The rancher went to the barn to check on his animals. He fed the horses and the cattle. He moved through his morning routine, but his mind was not fully on the work. He kept thinking about the man in his house. He kept thinking about what the next steps would be. After he finished his chores, he walked back to the house. The Apache man was awake now. He sat quietly by the window, looking out at the land. The rancher stood in the doorway for a moment, watching him. The man did not look at him right away. He seemed lost in thought, as if he was thinking about his own world, his own life, his own memories. The rancher stepped inside and sat at the table. He did not rush into conversation. He knew that the man might not understand English, and he did not want to force words that would not help. Instead, he decided to show kindness through actions. He brought a cup of water and set it on the table. Then he took a small piece of bread and broke it in half. He offered one half to the man. The man looked at the bread, then at the rancher. He hesitated for a moment, and then he took the bread. He ate slowly, carefully. The rancher watched him and felt relief. The man was not refusing. He was not angry. He was simply cautious. After breakfast, the rancher opened the door and stepped outside. He looked at the land around him. The ranch was wide and open, with tall grass and a few trees. It was a simple place, but it was peaceful. The rancher turned to the Apache man and gestured toward the outside. He wanted to show him that he was free to move. He wanted to show him that he was not a prisoner. The man looked at the rancher, then at the door. He stood slowly and walked outside. The rancher followed him. The air was fresh, and the sun was warm. The man looked around carefully. He touched the grass with his fingers. He looked at the sky. He listened to the sounds of the land. It was clear that he had not been in a place like this for a long time. The rancher watched him quietly. He did not speak. He did not rush him. He wanted the man to feel comfortable. He wanted him to feel safe. As they walked, the rancher noticed something. The Apache man was not just watching the land. He was studying it. He was looking at the plants, the animals, the signs of the weather. It was as if he had a deep connection to nature. The rancher had seen this before in the Apache people he had met long ago. He could tell that the man understood the land in a way that the rancher never could. The rancher decided to show the man around the ranch. He pointed to the horses, to the cattle, to the barn. He showed him the water source, the small pond where the animals drank. He tried to use simple gestures, hoping the man would understand. He also tried to smile, to show that he was friendly. The Apache man watched everything carefully. He did not speak, but he seemed to understand. When the rancher pointed to the pond, the man nodded. When the rancher pointed to the horses, the man looked at them with interest. It was as if the man was learning a new world. The rancher then showed him the tools he used for work. He showed him the ropes, the saddles, the buckets. He wanted the man to know that the ranch was a place of work, but also a place of safety. He wanted the man to feel that he belonged here, even if only for a short time. As the day continued, the rancher realized that the man was not just observing, he was also learning. The man watched the rancher as he worked, and he tried to imitate some of the movements. He was careful and respectful. He did not interfere. He did not complain. He simply watched and learned. The rancher felt a sense of connection growing between them. It was not a strong bond yet, but it was something. It was the beginning of understanding. The rancher had not expected this. He had expected the man to be angry or distant. He had expected the man to be fearful, but the man was not. He was calm, quiet, and thoughtful. Later in the afternoon, the rancher heard a sound from the road. He looked up and saw a group of people approaching. He recognized them. They were some of the townspeople who had been at the handover. They looked serious. They looked angry. They looked like they had come with a purpose. The rancher felt his heart tighten. He knew what this meant. The town was not going to forget what he had done. The town was not going to accept his decision. They might try to force him to return the man. They might try to convince him to change his mind. They might even try to take the man away. The rancher walked toward the gate. He stood there as the people arrived. The group included the mayor and a few men from the town. They did not look friendly. They did not look like they had come to visit. They looked like they had come to demand something. The mayor stepped forward. His face was stern. He looked at the rancher and then at the Apache man, who stood quietly behind the rancher. The mayor spoke in a loud voice. "You cannot keep him here," he said. "This is not your decision. You are not allowed to take him. The town has rules." The rancher listened calmly. He did not raise his voice. He did not argue. He simply looked at the mayor. "I have already made my decision," he said. "He is under my care now." The mayor's eyes narrowed. "This is dangerous," he said. "You are putting the town at risk." The rancher shook his head. "I am not putting anyone at risk," he replied. "I am treating a person with respect." The mayor looked angry. He stepped closer. "Respect? You do not know him. You do not know what he might do." The rancher held his ground. "I know enough," he said. "I know he is a person. I know he deserves to be treated like a person." The town people began to murmur. Some of them nodded in agreement with the mayor. Some of them looked uncertain. Some of them looked uncomfortable. They did not like the idea of the rancher going against the town. They did not like the idea of a stranger making decisions that affected everyone. The Apache man stood quietly behind the rancher. He did not speak, but his eyes were watching the people. He looked calm, but there was a hint of sadness in his face. He seemed to understand that this was not only about him. It was about the town and about the way people treated each other. The mayor took a step closer. "You will return him," he said. "You will bring him back to town. You will not keep him here." The rancher did not move. He did not back down. He looked at the mayor and spoke calmly. "I will not," he said. "I will not return him to a place where he is not treated as a person. I will not leave him alone in a town that does not want him." The mayor's face turned red. He was angry. He looked like a man who felt his power was being challenged. "Then you will face the consequences," he said. The rancher looked at him quietly. "I am ready," he replied. The group of townspeople stood there for a moment, unsure of what to do. The rancher's calmness had surprised them. They had expected him to be afraid. They had expected him to give in. But he did not. He stood firm. After a moment, the mayor turned away. He looked at the group and spoke quietly. "We will find a way," he said. "We will make sure he is not here." The group walked away, leaving the rancher and the Apache man alone. The rancher felt his body relax slightly. He had been afraid of this moment, but it had happened. He had faced the town and stood his ground. He had shown that he would not be forced to change his mind. The Apache man looked at the rancher. For the first time, he spoke. His words were simple, and the rancher did not fully understand them. But the rancher could hear the meaning in the tone of the voice. It was not a threat. It was not anger. It was gratitude. The rancher smiled. He did not know the man's language, but he understood the feeling behind the words. He nodded. The day continued, and the rancher returned to his work. But the conversation with the mayor stayed in his mind. He knew that the town would not give up easily. He knew that more people might come. He knew that the situation could become harder. We're apart. But he also knew something else. He knew that he was not alone anymore. He knew that the Apache man was not only a person in his care, he was also a friend in a quiet way. He was someone who had shown trust. He was someone who had accepted kindness. And the rancher realized that this was the beginning of something new, not only for the two men, but for the town as well. A new kind of understanding might be possible. A new kind of respect might grow. The sun began to set. The sky turned soft colors again. The land felt calm. The rancher and the Apache man sat together near the barn watching the sunset. They did not speak. They did not need to. They simply sat together, two men from different worlds, sharing the same quiet moment. And the rancher knew that tomorrow would bring more challenges. But he also knew that he would not turn back. He had made his choice. He had taken a step forward, and now he was ready to keep walking. The next morning, the rancher woke up before the sun. The air was cool, and the world was quiet. The rancher felt the same sense of responsibility he had felt the day before. He knew that the town would not forget what he had done. He knew that the town would not stop trying to change his mind. But he also knew that he had made a choice, and he would not step back from it. He went outside and checked the animals. Everything was normal. The horses were calm, the cattle were eating, and the barn was quiet. The rancher felt a small relief. It was good to see that the ranch was still peaceful. It was good to see that the world was still moving, even when people were trying to create problems. The Apache man came outside as well. He looked more comfortable than he had the first day. He walked slowly, taking in the surroundings. The rancher could see that he was learning to trust the ranch. He was learning that the rancher was not going to harm him. He was learning that he could relax. The rancher walked toward the man and spoke softly. "Today we will go to the town," he said. "We need to show them that he is a person, not a problem." The Apache man looked at him, and the rancher could see a small question in his eyes. He did not understand the words fully, but he understood the meaning. He nodded slowly. The rancher prepared to travel. He packed a small bag with food, water, and a few supplies. He also packed a blanket for the man. He wanted the man to feel comfortable and safe. He wanted the man to know that he was cared for. The rancher and the Apache man began their walk toward town. The road was the same road they had traveled before, but now it felt different. The rancher felt a sense of purpose. He felt that he was doing something important. He felt that he was not only protecting the man, but also teaching the town something. As they walked, the rancher noticed that the Apache man was watching the road carefully. He was paying attention to every detail. He looked at the people they passed. He looked at the buildings. He looked at the signs. He was learning about the town, just as the rancher was learning about the man. When they reached the edge of town, the rancher saw that people were already gathered. Word had spread quickly that the rancher was bringing the Apache man back. The town had come to watch. They were curious, and some were angry. The rancher could see the same faces that had been at the handover. They were standing in groups, talking quietly to each other. They were waiting to see what would happen. The rancher walked calmly into the town. The Apache man followed him. They walked slowly, without rushing. The rancher wanted to show that they were not afraid. He wanted to show that the man was not dangerous. He wanted to show that he was a person, not a problem. The people watched them as they passed. Some looked shocked. Some looked curious. Some looked angry. Some looked confused. The rancher could feel the eyes on him. He could feel the judgment in the air. But he kept walking. They reached the center of town, where the same group of men had gathered the day before. The mayor stood there again, with his stern face. The commander was not there this time. The town leaders were present, and the people were watching closely. The mayor stepped forward. "You brought him back," he said. "What do you think you are doing?" The rancher looked at the mayor calmly. "I am showing you that he is a person," he replied. "I am showing you that you do not have to be afraid of him." The mayor scoffed. "He is a hostage," he said. "He is not a person. He is a tool. He is a sign of peace." The rancher shook his head. "He is a person," he said again. "He has a family. He has a life. He has feelings." The mayor looked angry. "You do not know him," he said. "You do not know what he has done." The rancher did not argue. He did not want to make the situation worse. He knew that words alone would not change people's minds. He knew that he needed to show them through actions. He turned to the Apache man and spoke gently. "Come," he said. He motioned for the man to step forward. The Apache man stepped forward slowly. He stood beside the rancher. He looked at the people around him. He did not look afraid. He did not look angry. He simply stood there, calm and quiet. The town fell silent. The people had not expected this. They had expected the man to be scared or angry. They had expected him to be dangerous. But he was not. He was calm. He was quiet. He was human. The rancher spoke again. "I want you to see him," he said. "I want you to see that he is not a problem." He then did something unexpected. He pointed to the man and smiled. Ah! He pointed to himself and smiled. He made a simple gesture as if he was saying, "We are both people." Some people in the crowd began to whisper. Some looked confused. Some looked angry. Some looked thoughtful. The rancher could see that his action had made them think. It was a small moment, but it was powerful. It was a moment of connection. Then a woman in the crowd stepped forward. She was not a leader. She was not important. She was just a simple woman who lived in the town. She looked nervous, but she also looked brave. She stepped closer to the rancher and the Apache man. She spoke softly, but the whole town could hear her. "I have a small child," she said. "He is sick. I need help. I heard you have water. Please, can you help us?" The rancher looked surprised. He did not expect this. The woman looked at the Apache man, then at the rancher. The Apache man looked at the woman, too. He seemed to understand what she was saying. The rancher nodded. "Yes," he said. "We will help." The woman smiled, relieved. She turned and walked back to her home. The crowd watched her go. They were surprised that the rancher had offered help so quickly. They were surprised that the Apache man had not caused trouble. Well, they were surprised that the rancher had not been afraid. The rancher turned to the mayor. "We will go to her home," he said. "We will bring water and help." The mayor looked annoyed. "You cannot do that," he said. "You do not have permission." The rancher shook his head. "I do not need permission to help someone," he replied. "I do not need permission to treat a person with respect." The rancher and the Apache man walked toward the woman's home. The crowd watched them, but they did not follow. The mayor looked angry, but he did not stop them. He did not want to create a scene. He did not want to draw attention. The rancher and the Apache man reached the woman's home. It was a small house with a few simple belongings. The woman's child was lying on a bed, looking weak. The rancher gave the woman water and some food. The Apache man stood quietly, watching. He did not speak, but his eyes showed care. He looked at the child and then at the woman. He seemed to understand that the child needed help. The rancher asked the woman to bring a blanket. He then helped the child sit up. The child looked frightened, but the rancher spoke softly, trying to calm him. The Apache man stepped closer and touched the child's forehead gently, as if he was checking for a fever. The woman watched in surprise. She had not expected the Apache man to be gentle. She had not expected him to care. She had not expected him to be human. The child smiled slightly. The woman's eyes filled with tears. She looked at the rancher and the Apache man with gratitude. She realized that these two men were not the problem. They were the solution. The rancher stayed for a while, making sure the child was okay. He then left with the Apache man and walked back to the town center. The crowd was still there, but they were quieter now. They looked different. They looked less sure. They looked like people who had been challenged. The mayor saw them return. He looked angry, but he did not speak. He could see that the rancher had done something that made the town think. He could see that the rancher had shown kindness, and that the Apache man had shown kindness too. The rancher stood in the center of town again. He looked at the people and spoke softly. "This is what he can do," he said. "He can help. He can be kind. He can be a person." The town remained quiet. No one spoke, but the rancher could feel that something had changed. It was not a big change, It was not a sudden change. It was a small shift, like the first step of a long journey. The rancher and the Apache man walked back to the ranch. The sun was setting, and the sky was beautiful. The rancher felt tired, but he also felt hopeful. He had faced the town again, and he had shown them something important. He knew that the mayor would not give up. He knew that the town would keep watching, but he also knew that he had made a difference. He had shown them that a person is not a problem. He had shown them that kindness can change minds, and he had shown them that a quiet man can make a powerful choice. The next morning, the rancher woke up with a feeling he had not expected. He felt calm, but he also felt a strange sense of hope. The events of the previous day had changed something. He had seen the town's reaction, and he had seen a small shift in their thinking. It was not a big change, but it was real. He walked outside and looked at the land. The sun was rising, and the sky was bright. The ranch was quiet. The animals were calm. Everything seemed normal, but the rancher knew that things would not be the same again. He knew that the town would continue to watch him. He knew that the mayor would continue to challenge him. He knew that the situation could become harder. The Apache man came out of the house. He looked more relaxed now. He looked like someone who had started to trust the rancher. The rancher smiled slightly. He was happy to see that the man was no longer tense. He was no longer afraid. He was starting to feel at home. The rancher walked toward him. He spoke softly. "Today we will do something different," he said. "We will visit the town, but not for a conflict. We will visit to share something." The Apache man looked at him with a curious expression. The rancher could tell that he did not fully understand, but he trusted the rancher. The man nodded slowly. The rancher prepared a small basket. He put some food inside: bread, cheese, and fruit. He also added a small gift. It was a simple item, but it had meaning. It was a piece of cloth that the rancher had used to tie his horse. He had cleaned it and folded it neatly. He wanted to give it to the woman whose child he had helped. He wanted to show that he was grateful for the kindness she had shown, and he wanted to show that the Apache man was not a problem, but a friend. The rancher and the Apache man walked to the town again. This time, the mood felt different. The town looked quieter. People were not shouting. They were not angry. They were watching. But there was a new feeling in their eyes. It was a feeling of curiosity mixed with uncertainty. They were not sure what to think anymore. When the rancher reached the center of town, he saw the mayor standing there. The mayor looked tired. He looked like a man who had been fighting for something he was not sure about. He looked like a man who had started to question his own beliefs. The rancher walked up to him and nodded. "Good morning," he said. The mayor did not reply right away. He looked at the rancher, then at the Apache man. He looked at the crowd. He looked like a man who did not know what to do next. Finally, he spoke. "You are still here," he said. "You have not changed your mind?" The rancher nodded. "I have not," he replied. The mayor sighed. "People are talking," he said. "They are saying that you are doing something wrong. They are saying that you are bringing trouble to the town." The rancher looked at him calmly. "They are also saying that we helped a child," he said. "They are saying that the man is not dangerous." He had not expected the rancher to speak like that. He looked at the crowd again. He saw the people whispering. He saw some nodding. He saw some looking thoughtful. He realized that the town was changing, slowly. The rancher then turned to the Apache man and spoke softly. "We will go to the woman's home," he said. "We will give her the basket." The Apache man nodded. They walked together toward the woman's house. The crowd followed quietly, watching. When they reached the woman's home, She came out. She looked surprised to see them. She saw the basket and smiled. She looked at the rancher and then at the Apache man. Her eyes showed gratitude. She stepped forward and accepted the basket. The rancher spoke softly. "Thank you for trusting us," he said. The woman nodded. She looked at the Apache man and then spoke. Her words were simple, but her meaning was clear. "Thank you," she said. The Apache man bowed his head slightly. It was a gesture of respect. The woman looked at him with new understanding. She saw that he was not a stranger to fear or kindness. She saw that he was a person just like her. The crowd watched quietly. They saw the exchange. They saw the kindness. They saw the respect. They saw that the rancher and the Apache man were not enemies. They were people who cared. The mayor watched too. He did not say anything, but his face showed that he was thinking. He was beginning to understand that the problem was not the man. The problem was the fear that people had built in their minds. After the visit, the rancher and the Apache man walked back to the center of town. The crowd followed them slowly. The mood was calmer now. The town felt different. The air felt lighter. The tension that had been there before seemed to be fading. When they reached the center, the rancher spoke again. "I know this has been hard for everyone," he said, "but I hope you can see that we are not a threat. We are people." The mayor stepped forward. He looked at the rancher and then at the Apache man. He took a deep breath. He spoke carefully, as if choosing his words. "You have shown us something," he said. "You have shown us that we were wrong to judge without knowing." The crowd listened. Some people looked surprised. Some people looked relieved. Some people looked thoughtful. The mayor continued. "I do not know what will happen next," he said, "but I will not stand in your way any more." The rancher nodded. He felt a small relief. He knew that the mayor's words did not solve everything, but they were important. They were a sign that the town was beginning to change. The crowd began to disperse. People went back to their homes. The town returned to its normal life, but something had shifted. The town had seen a new way of thinking. They had seen that kindness could change fear. The rancher and the Apache man walked back to the ranch. The sun was setting and the sky was bright with color. The land looked peaceful. The rancher felt tired, but he also felt a deep sense of peace. He looked at the Apache man and spoke softly. "You are free now," he said. "You do not have to stay here if you do not want to." The Apache man looked at him. For a moment, the rancher thought he might leave. He thought the man might want to go back to his people, to his home, to his life. The rancher understood. He would not hold him. He would not force him to stay. But the Apache man did not leave. He looked at the rancher and shook his head slowly. It was a small gesture, but it meant a lot. He was choosing to stay, at least for now. The rancher felt a warmth in his heart. He understood that the man had found something here. He had found respect. He had found kindness. He had found a place where he could be treated as a person. The two men stood together in the quiet evening. They did not need words. They only needed the shared feeling of understanding. The rancher thought about how the town had changed. He thought about how one small decision had started something new. He thought about how fear had been replaced by curiosity, and how judgment had been replaced by respect. He realized that he had not only helped the Apache man, he had helped the town as well. He had shown them that it was possible to change. He had shown them that a person could be different and still be good. The rancher looked at the sky. The stars were beginning to appear. The night was calm. The land was quiet. He knew that there would still be challenges. He knew that not everyone would agree with him. He knew that there would still be people who feared the unknown, but he also knew that the first step had been taken, and he knew that the future could be different. He walked back into his house and sat by the window. He looked at the Apache man, who was sitting quietly, watching the stars. The rancher felt grateful. He felt thankful that he had taken the step forward. He felt thankful that he had chosen kindness over fear. He knew that the story would be remembered, not because of a big event, but because of a simple choice. A quiet rancher had stepped forward when no one else would. He had chosen to treat a person with respect. He had chosen to stand up for what was right, and in doing so, he had changed the lives of everyone involved. The night continued, calm and peaceful. The rancher and the Apache man sat together, two people from different worlds, sharing the same quiet moment. And the world felt a little better because of it.